India. Q9 It is said that there are clauses in the ROOT Act which have enormous catalytic potential but that have gone largely untouched and unnoticed. Discuss the features of these provisions which can radically transform school education in India. 250 words. The Hindu background. Right to Education Act has played an important role in enabling the goal of universal primary education, but at the same time its provisions are inadequately implemented. Important ROOT provisions which were neglected. ROOT Act establishes that the onus to ensure free and compulsory education lies on the state. However, the compulsory and state liability part needs to be imbibed by the educational bureaucracy, which is now lacking. Tracking dropouts and mainstreaming them into age-appropriate classes has been subsumed into existing scheme activities. Even 7 years after its enactment, there are still children on the streets. The ROOT Act prescribes basic minimum standards for a school, such as provision for toilets, drinking water, and classrooms. Despite this provision, there are still lack of toilet facilities and necessary infrastructure in the school system. Pupil-teacher ratio (PTR). It is impractical to expect quality education without this. 33% of the schools in the country did not have the requisite number of teachers, as prescribed in the ROOT norms. All other forward-looking provisions of the Act, such as continuous assessment, the child learning at her own pace, and no detention policy, are contingent on a school with an adequate number of teachers. No meaningful teaching learning is possible unless trained teachers are physically present at school. In states with an adequate overall number of teachers, their positioning for posting requires rationalization according to the number of students. www.insightsinIndia.com 54 www.insightsis.com. However, teacher transfers remain a great area in most states. The academic calendar will be decided by the local authority. This provision recognizes the vast cultural and regional diversities within the country. So if panchayats, perhaps at the district level, decide the working days and holidays, this would not only exponentially increase attendance and teaching learning but also strengthen local panchayats to take ownership of their schools. However, the educational bureaucracy has not allowed the decentralization of academic schedules even in districts. The excellent push towards school management committees that were to support governance at the school level had implementation issues since they had no powers, no funds, and no support to train their members in governance. It was an excellent idea to include local parents to watch over the schools their children attended, but parents, especially if less educated than teachers, are often patronized or find it difficult to be heard. So the school management structures were doomed. The Act claims to stand for all children but does not actually apply to all. The intent of the Act may have been to acknowledge this principle by excluding madrasas, Vedic pathshalas, and educational institutions providing primarily religious instruction in adherence to the Articles 29 and 30 of the Constitution. There is much about inclusion for the disabled, but nothing for those whose schedules and abilities do not match with a traditional school timing regime. Like schools for children of construction workers that were run on site were made illegal by this legislation. Suggestions. Strategies to ensure retention need to change from the earlier approach of enrolling the unenrolled. Teacher provisioning should be the first option to fund, as no educationally developed country has built up a sound schooling foundation without a professionally motivated teaching cadre in place. Allow schools to admit students if there are no applicants in the 25% EWS category. As it stands, schools are forced to keep the place vacant and lose both fee revenues and compensation if they cannot find a poor student in their area. The government has a responsibility to govern the administration of all schools to ensure quality education is being delivered to all. This does not need to impinge upon the content of teaching, while it does call to account the process of teaching and learning and its outcomes, even regarding minorities.